Welcome to the Bark Night Podcast, where we shine a spotlight on the world of film and TV through news, reviews, and in-depth discussions. On today's episode, we have horror director Brandon Christensen with us once again. Be sure to follow, like, or leave a rating wherever you're listening. It helps keep the reels turning. So, today's guest, as I said, is Brandon Christensen. He's a writer and director known for his work in the horror genre, including Stillborn, Z, Superhost, The Puppet Man, and Night of the Reaper. Brandon has built a reputation for crafting high-impact atmospheric horror with a hands-on approach, often taking on multiple roles across writing, directing, editing, and visual effects to bring his projects to life. He's also been a previous guest on the Bark Night Podcast, and today we're excited to have him talk about his latest work and his approach to modern independent horror filmmaking. Great to have you on, Brandon.
Yeah, glad to be back.
So first off, I wanted to say congratulations. I see that your new movie Bodycam continues to be number one on Shudder's top 10, so that's great.
Yeah, that was cool. I think the mortuary assistant just took over it because that just came out too. But yeah, it had like a 3.5 week run, which is pretty sweet.
I checked it earlier today, and maybe it went back because...
Oh, really?
I checked like 2 hours ago. Let me look at my phone real quick, and we'll see. Here we are.
Okay, crazy.
Number one.
Oh, wow, look at that. That's funny. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm in. Yeah. I'll never
with
doubt you again.
In Search of Darkness, 1995 to 1999, coming in second there. I actually had the producer of that on here once as well.
That's
you seen those?
No.
Really cool. They're documentary series about like the history of horror. So they did like a 3-part one that explored like all of the 80s. And then this one's 1995 to 1999. So I've been watching this one. They're long. It's like 5 hours long or something. So you kind of watch it in increments unless you have the time to devote an entire day to it. But a lot.
I'll definitely check it out. That sounds cool. I hadn't even heard of it. Yeah, I'll that's cool though.
But yeah, number one. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been cool. It's been fun to watch because, I don't know, I've never done a found footage film before, so there was kind of just a lot of unknowns going into it. And, I think strangely enough, the film is like the most mainstream that I've had. Like some of the outlets that picked it up and talked about it and reviewed it, they're ones that don't normally do that for a Shudder release. So it was kind of cool to see it kind of percolate outside of that kind of the bubble of Shudder in that kind of immediate circle. But yeah, it's been really neat.
Yeah, that's great. For anybody that doesn't know, the synopsis of this, and we're not really going to spoil too much with the movie, I don't think, but you should definitely watch it if you are watching this and haven't watched it yet. But it's about 2 police officers investigating a domestic dispute, and there's an accidental shooting, and not wanting to be crucified by the public, the officers attempt to cover it up, only to uncover that the cameras aren't the only things watching them. Found footage, some supernatural aspects, diving into some societal things there. So it's a really cool, really interesting movie. And I was pumped to see this finally drop because after our episode there, you'd sent me the trailer for it. And I was like, okay, this looks right up my alley. Happy to see this drop.
Cool. Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, it was weird just because, usually it takes a long time to get one movie done, but this was 2 movies kind of dropping, within 6 months of each other. Yeah. And that was kind of an insane experience just to go through the whole, the release cycle takes up a lot of your time. Like you're doing a lot of podcasts like this, you're doing a lot of screenings, things like that. It's just a lot of talking about the one film. And then right as that was dying down, I had to pivot to this one. And it's just like, okay, we shot this movie in 2023. It's been a minute since we've done all that. So, and I've been talking so much about Reaper. I have to recalibrate my brain and try and remember all these old stories about this movie that we shot so long ago. So it's been cool. I'll never do 2 movies at the same time again, but I'm glad I did.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised at how quickly this one dropped too, but it's great. So I guess one thing I wanted to talk about is what were some of your inspirations for the movies? Like, were there other movies that inspired you for it? I know there's a lot of found footage movies out there. There's I kind of see some aspect of like video game style in there, of like first person shooters. Like, so what helped guide you through this? And I know last time we spoke, you had talked about how anytime you approached these different subjects or different genres, you like to put your own unique spin on it. So,
this one was kind of different than how we normally do it, because like the original concept for doing something with a body cam, like just sticking to that point of view, was after I watched Jurassic World back in like 2015, 2016, something like that. There's a sequence near the end where there's these raptors and they're like going on a mission with Chris Pratt on a motorcycle. They've all got like body cams on the raptors, and there's like this control room, and they're all watching this raptor vision, mission happening. And I just remember sitting there and being like, that's such a cool point of view. I wonder if I could do like a short film or something like that and just do a police body cam, just something really quick and easy. But, this was back before I'd even directed Stillborn. So I wasn't even thinking about features at that time for that idea. But I got busy with other projects and, life things. And the idea just kind of sat dormant until, years later, one of the producers, Curtis Harder, and we were just talking about trying to get on a VHS 94 segment, and there was, and I brought up the idea of this body cam thing, and it didn't really make sense with 1994 because that was pre-body cam, obviously. But when we didn't get the segment, we were like, well, maybe we just do our own thing, and we'll do our own body cam movie. And we tried to break a story, but we couldn't really get past the opening, and it was just kind of like, oh, maybe there's an accidental shooting, but then what? And we never solved that. So we were both busy, and we kind of went off and did our own things. And then, a year or two later, my brother and I had started writing together, and I brought up the body cam idea to him just to see if it kind of hit in any way. And after a discussion, we started discussing those, there's like these YouTube videos of this area in Philadelphia downtown. It's called Kensington, I think. And it's just sort of like a tent city, and all these people are on drugs, and they're just like standing around, and they look in very abnormal poses. Yeah. And we were just started to discuss this, like, well, what if there was something going on with those people, like beyond just drugs? Like it was something deeper, something, controlling them. And that was kind of the big seed that led to the rest of the movie. And we just sort of started adapting and, developing that. And, Bodycam was the product of it. And, 6 or so months later, we were on set shooting.
I have seen those tent cities in person.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is crazy. They're, and actually, as I was telling you, I was from Rochester previously, and they had their own version of the tent cities there for a while. It's actually a wild story about that is the mayor at the time hosted like some event for homeless people that they were all going to. I almost want to say it was like a soup kitchen or something. And when they all came to that, the mayor bulldozed the tent city. And it was a huge deal for a little while. It was just like wild decision making over there. But yeah, that aspect of this was really interesting because, yeah, you've got like this whole part of the city that seems like it's being overrun by drugs and crime. But then you have that aspect of like the entity that's actually controlling all this. So that was really cool. I like that.
Cool. Yeah. We just thought it would be interesting to kind of you see those videos and you just assume drugs. And so we were just like kind of putting a different spin on it to maybe,
what if it
come up with just give it a different perspective. And, that led to a lot of different story elements that came from that, like Jackson's mom and her relationship with the area as well. Because it's like, well, if you've got one kind of force for evil, you're going to need the opposite of that. And so the movie ends up kind of changing into something different. It's like these two battle, like this battle of this sort of the soul of this city. And kind of goes a little bit deeper than that. But yeah, no, it was a super crazy time to just make a found footage movie in that style because it was such a different way to shoot a film than I've ever done before or done since, because we shot Reaper after this like a year and a half later. And just going back to that was much more familiar than sort of the unknowns of shooting a body cam horror movie.
Yeah there were some shots in there that I was like, oh, this looks just like a first person shooter right now. That's really cool visually. Is that what you were going for with that? Was like,
I mean, it's kind of just like a happy thing that happens, like when you're watching the actors, because like the actors shot the film, right? So these are cameras mounted on their chest, and so you get these moments where you're watching and you're like, holy shit, this looks like a new Resident Evil game, like
Right.
Resident Evil 7 or 8, where it's just you just see the gun, you see a flashlight, and it's just you have this narrow point of view where you're only seeing what they see, and it did feel like very much like a video game. And it's not like we set out for that, but it was certainly something that just sort of happened by just by the nature of what we were doing. And it was fun to watch, just being on set, because you're not controlling it, but you still have that feeling like, oh, this is a total video game.
Yeah, that's really cool. I remember in our last conversation you said that the Blair Witch Project was one of your favorite horror movies, and so it's really cool that you got to kind of dive into that. What was that like to be in this genre that is so based in one of your favorites?
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, you could definitely see the influence. Like, there's a shot of Jackson and standing in front of the hole in the last, the little epilogue thing. And it's totally just like Josh standing against the wall, Or is it Mike? Which one is it that's standing? It might be Mike.
I don't remember, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think Josh was the one missing and Mike was the one standing in the corner, I believe. Either way. But yeah, it's totally that. And like there's the scene where he takes the camera off and he talks to it, and it's such like a nod to Blair Witch. But it was like a twofold thing, because one, it allowed him to kind of just like dump his feelings onto the audience, similar to Blair Witch. But it also took like a huge pivotal moment in the film when he goes on that final drive. And him having taken off the camera allows him to place it down in a way that we can watch him experience this thing. Because like in the first drafts, it was just from his chest and he's driving through this thing, and it would have been like, you don't get to feel it through his eyes at all or see him react to it. So it was kind of like reverse engineered to be like, well, we got to get the camera off of him so we can put it down so we can see him as he's doing this thing, just to, because I mean, at the end of the day, you're making a movie. You need to see the characters to make sure that you're seeing how they're reacting to the the circumstances. It was definitely like, well, let's do a Blair Witch moment. Like, let's take this camera off, do the confessional, and then put it down, and then we kind of solve both problems. But yeah, no, it was cool because, I've done like found footage type things in most of my movies. Pretty much all of them have some sort of recorded element. But to go full in and just sort of like immerse yourself in that style of filmmaking was such a unique experience, and just so efficient. We shot this thing in 12 days. It was a very fast shoot,
wow.
which was, yeah, that was unique too, because every scene was basically like a play. Everything was a oneer, because like you go into the house, you do a scene, there's no inserts, there's no lighting, everything's lit by the actors, everything's shot by the actors. So you're essentially just doing it over and over and over until you feel like it's good, and then you switch the camera vest to the other guy, do it again, but they've got it so dialed in at that point that once you're done, you're just like, oh, I guess that's it. There's, with a normal movie, you shoot the things, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, we got to get inserts of this and that and this, so we got to move the lighting, we got to turn the scene around, all of these things that we just didn't have to do. And so it created a very, very efficient kind of setup where I don't think we ever went more than 10 hours a day. It was just like, we just very quick, very efficient, and yeah, that was really cool and unique. It was like 6 of us running around the city with the actors and just shooting this thing. So
wow.
Very small, yeah.
Yeah, and the mechanism of having them be police officers, because you've got the body cam, so you don't have to spend any time really like coming up with an excuse as to why, like, oh, we have to set up a backstory of this guy being an aspiring director who is obsessed with, you don't have to really set up anything like that. And then you've got the flashlights to, work the lighting. So there's some cool mechanisms there that make it sort of just work really well.
Yeah, I think, found footage films can sometimes struggle to justify why they're recording. It's just like, oh, I just am. Blair Witch uses like everything it's easier to view through the lens rather than like dealing with the reality, and that's fine. But I'm proud of how this just sticks to the gimmick and never deviates. It never cuts to like a security camera or something like that. It always stays in the 3 cameras that we established at the very beginning of the movie. It's like dash cam, 2 body cams, and that's it. There is an in-car camera that we use a few times, but other than that, it's all the things that we set out from the very beginning.
Yeah. Have you seen As Above, So Below?
Yeah. Good film. Yeah. Very good.
Yeah, that's a good one. I watched that last October as part of my like 31 days. And every time I see that, there's so many scenes in it that I just do not remember from time to time. and like the whole like the climax of it where they're just like speed running through like all the chaos. A lot of really cool stuff there.
Yeah, no, it's a great one. I think like it's starting to get the recognition it deserves, but when it came out, it was kind of maybe a bad time for a found footage film. But no, that's one of the great ones for sure. It's so good. It's way better than it has any right to be.
Yeah, they're supposed to be doing a new one of those actually.
That's what I heard. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. But it's really cool that, Shudder, once again, is taking the time to invest in these things and get that original content out there and try new things with some of these. And I really appreciate Shudder for that, because they've released a lot of my favorite movies lately.
Yeah, no, they're huge. They're amazing. My whole career is with them. So I'm very, very fortunate that they exist at all. But I think VHS has been such a powerful, IP that they've had kind of yearly. And so Bodycam kind of fit that mold, and it feels, a lot of people have said it's like a full-length VHS segment. And so, I think that their interest, they're one of the few people that are willing to take a risk on found footage right now, which is really cool. And, I'm super stoked that they exist at all, just to allow me to keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, I really like their segments that they've released of VHS since they started have all been really cool. I like the 80s one that they did, VHS Beyond, where it's all sci-fi related.
Right.
Super cool. That one was like the one with Mike Flanagan's wife there that she directed and he wrote. That segment just blew me away. I was just like, man, this might be my favorite like sci-fi found footage short like ever. It's just really, really interesting how they did that.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it really, between all of these things that Shudder's put out, and between yours and VHS and all of it, it really shows all the different directions you can take that genre. So
right.
One thing I had seen in the IMDb trivia section that I wasn't sure, because you just never know if these things are accurate or not, but it says it references actual body cam footage from a real police body cam where 2 officers from Hyde Park, New York, executed a mother of 3 in front of her children and were both promoted after not cooperating with the investigation. There are motions and quotes mimicked from the real footage. I guess, is that true? And was that one of the inspirations for this?
I've seen that too, and I as far as I'm aware, no, I had no idea that existed until I saw the trivia thing on IMDb, and that happens a lot where they just like things go up and you're like, what? Is this really that close? Like it could be like a cultural osmosis thing where maybe when it happened, like we heard about it, but there's certainly things that are kind of based on real things, like a couple, people selling their kids for drugs or something like that. Like that definitely helped inspire the opening where this couple is trying to get the cops to take their baby or whatever because they've made a bad deal or whatever. That particular case, I don't know more than just the IMDb thing, but maybe just because we heard about it when it happened, but I not consciously,
You, as soon as I brought it up, you knew I was going to ask about that?
Yeah, it's been brought up a few times, and I'm like, I don't know what they're talking about. Maybe. I mean, sure. I need to lean into it, I think. Just be like, oh, yeah, absolutely. We talked to the detectives, just lie. Just come up with like a big, elaborate lie for that.
Right. That's funny because that's what Jordan Peele says he ended up doing a lot of times because of all the theories to go along with Get Out. He would make like a guilty face and be like, yeah, that's what we were going for there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just let if the person thinks they've solved something, just like let them have that for sure.
Yeah. But either way, it's an interesting parallel. And I mean, one of the big things you're kind of doing here is you're drawing from a wealth of instances of police body cam, things that have happened in the years they've been around. So I guess the idea that we're not pulling from one specific case, but really just the many things you've seen over the years makes complete sense.
Yeah, that's more like it. I mean, you can't go on YouTube anymore without being suggested 300 true crime things told from the perspective of body cams, and I watch tons of them. So I just love kind of that method of storytelling and how there's just like such an unpredictability to watching even a simple like traffic stop, because you have a limited point of view, you have limited information, you're just kind of going into a situation, and usually like it'll be like, man gets shot to death after refusing to cooperate, whatever, and so you're like expecting something to happen, but it never happens the way you expect it to. And so there's like, I found that there was a lot of really cool ways that you can kind of duck a story into that method, and some of that is certainly in the film. And it's I think body cams just in general are so pervasive in our culture now that I think it was a good time for the film to come out because everybody understands it. Maybe 10 years ago it wouldn't have had the same effect when I first had the idea. So I think, having it come out so much later, I think benefited the project.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things that I noticed, have you seen Paranormal Activity Next of Kin?
Which one is that? Like 6?
That is the one where they're in like the Amish community.
Oh, no, I don't think I saw that one. Yeah, is that the one they shot in Buffalo? I think they shot that one in Buffalo.
Yeah, it is. I forgot about that.
No, I haven't seen that one. Yeah.
Coming up with the Buffalo fun facts. Yeah. I guess you would know since you shot there.
Mm-hmm.
One of the interesting things that I had noticed is like in that they have like a hole in the ground.
Right.
That like once it's introduced, I'm just like, it was a similar case with this one where I was like, bro, stay away from the hole in the ground. Just stay away. Like with the first guy there, I'm like, you got to take a couple steps back from the hole in the ground right now. And then when like you hear things like kind of go crazy when the other guy's upstairs and he runs downstairs, I was like, guy probably fell in the hole. I told him to take a couple steps back. He didn't. And you get down there and he didn't. But it was interesting because in both cases, there's like that similar hole in the ground and the characters do go into it.
Right.
And
it's like Chekhov's hole. You have to go in.
You have
in
to
the third act. Yeah. Establish the hole in the first act. You have to explore it in the third.
Yeah. I would recommend you check that one out.
Okay.
You might not like it. I seem to be the only person on the planet that likes it, but I really like it because it's found footage and it completely breaks the mold of what those Paranormal Activity movies were up until that point.
Right.
Most people don't like it because of that, but for me it's written by the same guy that wrote all of them, and it's like hey, at a certain point we got to move on from Ring cameras in the living room, right?
Yeah.
And so I like it for that fact. It's also, like you said, filmed in Buffalo, New York, and it's got some pretty cool stuff to it, so I recommend you check it out. It's even got a dash cam shot in it, now that I think of it.
There you go. Yeah, when we did the Puppet Man, a lot of the crew that was on the Puppet Man had worked on that, and like we shot at the studio where they did the hole. So when we were like scouting the studio space, they're like, oh yeah, we built the hole for Paranormal Activity in this room, and they were talking and showing photos and stuff like that. So yeah, that's why that stuck out, when the hole is was like the common thing there.
Did you use the same hole, or is it just the people that
it had
built
been
the
cleared
hole
out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was just the production designer we had, Frank. He said he worked on that hole.
It's a pretty terrifying hole because it's
cool.
It's deep. It's super deep. And when that scene rolls around, I remember just thinking in my head, like, ain't no way you're getting me to go down into this hole.
Right.
And she does, and she like lowers herself down, I swear to God, like 100 feet. Wow. And I'm like, what if you get stuck down here? Like,
yeah, what's your exit strategy?
Yeah, it's I recommend you check it out.
Cool.
I'm sure it won't be the last time I recommend a movie, but I'm a big fan of that one. It came out during the pandemic, so it's solid. I think it is. I venture to call it underappreciated.
That's cool.
Yeah. One thing I noticed, and I did not realize this until I was looking at your IMDb page earlier, is that Keegan Connor Tracy plays the mother in this one. I did not recognize her whatsoever during that scene. Completely under the radar.
Right. Yeah, that's still really funny to me. I mean, we put out a casting call in Calgary for it because it's like a very important but also kind of a small role. Like they're at the beginning, they're in the middle, but yeah, we just couldn't find the right person, and so I think it was just a joke at first. Like, hey, what if we ask Keegan? Like, do you think she would do it? And it was like, I can ask. Like, I doubt it. This is such a thankless role and not a comfortable role. It's just like the epitome of just, cover someone in blood and make them like do some crazy shit for a second, and then that's it. but she was not working at the time, and she was just like, yeah, screw it, let's do it. And so I was like, all right. And so we shot her for a couple days, and like, she's making no money, and she's someone that's made a lot of money doing a lot of bigger projects than this, and like, it tickles me to no end to watch her standing in this disgusting house where people literally died, covered in blood, in a bathtub that, you know, we cleaned, but how clean could we really get it? And just like, you know, and just having her do this scene. And then the funniest part is, like, I didn't love the performance for the middle of the movie scene that happens. So like 8 months later, we did a pickup shoot, and I was like, let's redo it. And so I had her come back. And like, one thing that we found out, not until it was too late, was that when you use red blood and you shoot something in night vision, the red disappears. Like, the IR light doesn't see red. So she just looked like she had a black neck, and that was it. And so I was just like, we need to use black paint on her rather than red, so it would show up. And so we did it again. And, you know, we put it in the movie, and then shortly before I locked the edit, I was just like, I think I like the old take better. So I put it back, and like, we had her come out, do the exact same thing again, cover her in blood and all this stuff for no reason, because I didn't even end up using it. So yeah, it makes me laugh that she did that, because it is like, yeah, you're not supposed to know it's her, and you don't really know it's her, but it when you find out, it's just like, what? Very bizarre.
Yeah, I was completely surprised when I saw that. I was like, really? Like, I had no idea.
Right. Yeah, super funny. But no, she's a good sport, because that was not fun.
And I finally caught your movie Z last, I think it was like 2 days after I watched Bodycam.
Okay.
I was like, oh, let me finally catch this one and work my way through your whole filmography here. And I went into that one completely blind. So I didn't have any idea what the cast was. I saw like the first, 2 or 3 seconds of what plays when you're in the Shudder app. And then I started that one, and boom, first scene, you see her, and I'm like, oh, wow. So, that's a cool working relationship there. It's always interesting when you see the same sort of cast and crews working together through projects.
Right. Yeah, she's just, she's a great actor, and we met on Z. We brought her on that, and she was like kind of like my rock during that shoot, and we became really close. And so she was in that, and then she was in Night of the Reaper, obviously, and then Bodycam. And yeah, she's just like a good friend that I can call on when I need to make her, put her in her place and make her not get her ego too big and be like, no, come down and do this horrible project, make no money. And no, I'm just kidding. But no, she's great and very lovely to be insane enough to do these roles with me.
Yeah. It's always really interesting to see when there's like that throughput between projects.
For sure.
And it was it was surprising to see her. I was like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, no, that's funny.
Yeah. That was a quality movie too, and it's like her show. Z was.
It's like all her, and she goes crazy in that one.
Really the linchpin of that whole movie. So that was really cool to see, because she really kills it there.
Yeah.
But it was good that I hadn't seen that before Night of the Reaper, so that if I had seen her being the focal point of that one, I might have looked for certain things in Night of the Reaper that may have given a few things away. So I'm glad I watched it in that order.
That's funny. Yeah, I could see that for sure.
I asked you this last time, so I'll ask you this again, and it's the final sort of body cam question. If you were going to do a Halloween double feature with this movie, what would you pair it with?
A body cam double feature with what's another movie? That's a good question. I mean, my instinct is to go with something that would be similar, and I think I would actually do another found footage film. I'd do Grave Encounters, because Sean Rogerson plays the lead in that. He's Lance Preston, and then he's Officer Bryce in this one. And so there's kind of this through line with just Sean Rogerson. It's like, how many years ago was that? It was like 15 years ago. So it's kind of fun to just sort of revisit that actor in a similar kind of movie where he's, doing spooky faces and stuff like that in a horrible situation. But make it like a Sean Rogerson night and give him that, because Sean's a great dude, and he's also in Z, funny enough, and because he was the husband. And so I've been able to work with him 3 times now, and again, just like another dude that I like to work with and hang out with, and Such a great actor. And yeah, I would say throw on Grave Encounters because it holds up great. That's a really fun movie. I just watched it recently.
They're supposed to be doing a remake of that one too with the same director.
Apparently, yeah, Stuart and Colin. My career kind of started with them because they were people that I looked up to online like years ago in like high school, and they were doing like music videos for bands, and I was just watching and super impressed with them. And so the first movie I ever worked on was It Stands It Stands Red. I was a producer on, and I pretty much just made it impossible for them not to hire me because I was just huge fans of their work. And they were like, hey, we have this desert zombie movie. And I was like, I live in the desert. I was in Las Vegas at the time. And I was like, why don't you come out and scout it with me, and we'll look, I'll just show you the city and blah, blah, blah. And they came out, and I had like everything lined up for them to go do. And they were just like, oh, like the whole movie's here. Like this makes sense. And we just very quickly pulled the trigger on that. But yeah, it's funny because when that was happening, I was doing it with the side goal of directing a Grave Encounters movie because they were still fairly hot at that time. The third one never got made and stuff like that, and Colin went off and did his own thing, and Stu did his own thing, but now they're kind of coming back together to do the reboot. Yeah, very curious because they've got Justin Long involved. Yeah, I don't know. It should... I'm curious to see. It was I really like that franchise though.
Yeah, and that was 2011. That was a long time ago for that one. I feel like the found footage genre was sort of in a completely different place.
Totally.
15 years ago. So it'll be really interesting to see what they can bring to it with the new technology, podcasting becoming what it has been, if that becomes an aspect of it. So Paranormal Activity Next of Kin, that's their hook in it, is that they're doing a podcast.
Right. Yeah, I've
Maybe
heard it.
That's why I like it.
That's cool. No, it's fun to see that sort of represented, seeing the behind the scenes and relating it to you and what you experience and stuff. That totally makes sense.
Yeah. I had thought about what I would do a double feature with for Bodycam, and I kind of thought of it from like two different perspectives. So for one, I was like, I think this would pair really well with People Under the Stairs. It's not found footage.
Yeah.
But it's got that sort of like horror in the inner city aspect to it.
Right.
That I think would pair really well. But if we're going, like, we got to do a found footage aspect for it, I was thinking Wreck, which I think is really solid. And then you've got like the emergency workers aspect where police here, firemen here.
Yeah, no, Wreck's amazing too. Yeah, there's like a handful of just iconic found footage movies, and Blair Witch, Wreck. I think Grave Encounters is on that list too, honestly, even though it was such a small one. Yeah, no, it's cool. Paranormal, obviously. But yeah, no, I think Wreck is definitely up there as like one of the best ever made. So that's a good pick.
Yeah, those are fun. I've seen. I think there's 4 of those. I don't think I've seen the 4th one.
Wow, I think I only saw the first one and then the remake here, Quarantine.
Yeah, I did see that. Not quite as good, although I do like the cast.
Yeah, it was fine. It was like well done, whatever. The original was so good and surprising that I think it's hard to, it's just you're gonna be constantly comparing it.
Yeah, and I mean, when it comes to remakes, you've always sort of got to justify it. And I sometimes think, like, with those, it's like, is not having subtitles reason enough to remake it? And I tend to think, no, it's not.
Right. No, for sure. I agree.
Yeah. Speaking back on Z for a second, there's 2 things I wanted to mention here. So first off, Keegan Connor Tracy again. I was pumped to see her. The other thing is that if you recall from last time we spoke, we got into a whole conversation about jump scares. And I had forgotten that you had mentioned this until
funny.
I rewatched our episode, but you had brought up the stair scene in this movie. And so when it happened, completely caught me off guard. Literally, I think I brought my hand up and was like, so that was, I wanted to mention that was a pretty expertly crafted jump scare scene.
Cool. Yeah, that's the one that I think I nailed the hardest so far in my career, which is a bummer because that was 4 movies ago. But Yeah, you're always kind of searching for, I just find it to be a very like well-crafted jump scare, because it starts with the mom, being uneasy about allowing this kid to go upstairs, and then she's just like clearly like, I don't like that he just did that, and then they get into the conversation, and the audience gets into the conversation, and then you just forget about it, and the mom forgot about it, and then right when her defenses are completely down, that's when it happens, and it's like, oh shit, like, oh, it's just, for me, it's like the perfect jump scare, because it's set up, and then the movie tricks you into forgetting about it, and then it comes back really hard, and you're just like, that was on me. Like the mom, you kind of feel like the mom, you're like, I forgot about it for that 1 second because we had this, intimate conversation, and I shouldn't have turned my back on him, and that I think that's really effective because of that. There's just a lot of layers to that jump scare that work for me. And still to this day very proud of it.
Well, I will say I think a really well done piece of it is the sound of the body hitting the floor is I think it's perfect. You hear you hear a thud, but you also hear like some crunch in there, and it is over as quick as it started. It's so sudden that that aspect of it, it's I agree, it's very, very well done.
Great. Yeah, no, that's cool. I appreciate that.
But I say, like I said when we did the Night of the Reaper episode, you did some quality jump scares in there too, so don't sell yourself short on those, especially with we talked about the one with the thunder at the beginning, so that was those were really quality too.
Cool. Yeah, no, I mean it's it's always a thing trying to it's funny because like with things like jump scares, you kind of have an audience split on it. Like some people hate them and some people love them, and you're trying to kind of like sometimes please both sides, and you're like, okay, well it'd be good to insert something here, but how far do we push this? And you're always kind of trying to reverse engineer moments to feel right and make them work, and I think Z has some really effective ones. And it's definitely like, it's like if you're doing a comedy, they're like the jokes, like you're trying to edit it right, and there's so many, it's like a frame perfect thing. Like if the scare or the stare one, if it was like a couple frames off here or there or something like that, totally doesn't work. If the sound is like 1 frame off and the thud doesn't hit when the thing, it's just they're so finely tuned to make them work. And the hard part is like, I don't have test screenings or anything, you're relying on your own intuition, or if there's a producer that can give notes or whatever. But it's a very like lonely experience crafting those sometimes, because I'm editing it and I'm just sitting there like, okay, 1 frame here, let's watch. It's like, I think that's good, let's try 1 more frame here, and you're just like, I think it was better before, and you're kind of just like, you're making it up as you go along, but you have a goal of making it really effective, and it's you're just like, you have to trust your gut sometimes, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but at the end of the day, it's just, you're just trying to just create some unsettling moments, I guess.
Well, and I think as a viewer, like, I absolutely acknowledge that there are those 2 different sides to it. Myself as a viewer, I think they're a necessary ingredient of a good horror movie. But I think that I have seen many movies where it seems like there's 1 or 2 jump scares per scene, and it gets to the point where you're like, all right, guys, come on. Like, is this the only thing you had in your pantry that day? Like, right. You got to have other ingredients here. Can't be all garlic. Like,
that's fine.
But I think it's a necessary thing to have there, and I really, really appreciated your thoughts on the whole thing in our last episode, where you were talking through sort of the idea that you have to not really take it for granted, that you have to, like the way you crafted the lightning one was in a similar way with the stair scene of hinting at this thing that could happen and leading the audience there, but then leading them away from it and then quickly bringing them back, I think your thought process on that is really, really well done.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, that was another one that has a similar kind of, the very first shot of the film is thunder and lightning as it's tilting down from the sky, and then you're slowly building to that one moment, and that was a good one too. I like that one for sure.
I really liked one of the cool things about Z was the the monster, the way it's designed, and like the first time you see it is in like that big sketch, the mural on the wall. Right. And like it, once again, it's just like, you know, when you see those things in a movie, you're just like, oh, if I was a parent in this situation, what the hell do you do? Like, I'm terrified. Like,
yeah, no, for sure. That was funny because like Brittany Allen, she did the score on Z, and she's like an actor. She's in The Pit right now and stuff like that. She's done really well. But she did a charcoal drawing when we were shooting the movie, and that was it. Like, she just did it on a piece of paper. And I just remember being like, it's too good for a kid to have done, you know? And so I was like, well, we'll do something simpler later. And I use that as the temp. Like, it's just VFX on the wall. But it just was like, yeah, just we couldn't do anything to the house. Like, it was just, you know, we couldn't mess with it like that. But yeah, it just like very quickly became Z, and it like became the image that is, you know, it's on the poster and stuff like that. So yeah, it was just one of those things where I, you know, as a director, I was just like, this doesn't make sense. A child couldn't have drawn this. But that's kind of the point, you know. It's like he wasn't really doing it on his own. Like, maybe he had help or something like that. And so it just added an extra layer to it, which was really cool. And it's just like, sometimes you just get out of your own way and let the talented people do their thing. And that was one of those instances for sure.
Yeah, that's really interesting. But yeah, cool design. One last note I had on Night of the Reaper is that, so when we talked about this last time, I hadn't seen When a Stranger Calls before.
Oh, okay.
And so in October, as part of my 31 days of what seems like never-ending movie watching and content creation following it, I watched that, and your notes on that movie were like pretty spot on. So the first 20 minutes, I was like, oh man, this is awesome. This is like
so good.
This is crazy. And then after that, I was like bored out of my mind for like 45 minutes. I was like, what did this movie become? Like, what is going on here? And like, I'm just kind of wondering to myself, like why it's so hyped up. But then they bring me back in the last like half hour when Carol Kane comes back on the screen.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, we're back, kids. Cool.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Ghost Ship of movie of its time. You know, it's like everyone only talks about the first 10 minutes of Ghost Ship. It's like the rest of I have no idea. I've seen it, and I couldn't tell you anything about it beyond the wire scene. So, yeah, it's just, it kind of gets by because it was such a novel idea for this thing like that. It's just such a great sequence that it holds up today, and I think the crazy thing is it looks great. Like, it holds up visually so well. It's so dark, it's so scary, it's shot on film, and it just looks so good. And even the boring parts, like, it all looks good. There's a shot around like an hour into the movie where the detective guy's walking in a basement, and it's this super long oneer, and it's like on a dolly, and you never see the tracks, and so it must be on, I don't even know how they did it, but it's such a gorgeous shot, and I'm just like, man, this is from 1979, like, crazy direction. And it, you know, I think it's a little unheralded for that, but yeah, it, you know, it's not a great movie, but it certainly is an iconic one, you know.
Yeah. And that part of it, I think it's 100%. You can't discount the impact that this movie's had. I mean,
for sure.
It's just like you said, Scream owes this movie an incredible debt of gratitude for that first 20 minutes, because watching that, I was like, oh, this is... Wes Craven obviously watched this movie and was like, okay, but let's make the whole movie be like that first 20 minutes, right?
For sure.
And that intro is really great, and it was really cool seeing that after seeing all the things and after seeing Night of the Reaper and how those things have evolved over time. You know, it was really cool to see that. Just one of those movies that I feel like I should have watched already, but our conversation was like, hey, you got to watch this movie, man.
Right. There's so many movies, man. It's so hard to watch everything. Like, I miss everything now. It's just like choice paralysis, you know, and it's just it's so hard. But yeah, don't feel too bad for missing that one. It's pretty okay.
Yeah. On that same topic, have you watched any recent horror movies that really blew you away?
I'm trying to think. I haven't seen too much. It's just been so busy, but I have. It's not horror, but it's it's a movie. It's Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie just came out, and I'd heard about it before, and you know, I'd heard it was great and stuff like that, and I'd heard that there was a show that I only found out about recently prior to that. And so we watched the movie, you know, a week or two ago, and mind-bogglingly good. It's so good that my wife and I, and like we went back and we watched the original web series from 2008. And now we're in season 2 of the TV show, and it's like it's so me. And I lived in Toronto when they first started this. You know, like they started in 2007. And like I was living there at the time, and so it's like speaking directly to me, and it somehow escaped me for all this time. But it's just like unbridled creativity, and it's so inspiring because they're like kids that grew up loving movies and playing video games, and then they just turn that into their entire life, and they just, you know, did what they loved in a really cool way, and it's very, you know, it's so uniquely them. And I'm just, you know, and then we watched Blackberry the other night, which I'd seen recently, but the same director, and it's so good. I found the script and I read it yesterday, and I couldn't put it down. It's such a great script, and I was just like, Jesus, man, like these guys, even, you know, they're Canadian, but they're doing just such good work, and I feel like they're on the precipice of just being like the next big thing, because Nirvana, the band, the movie, or the show, the movie, was so big. But yeah,
I've actually not heard of that. What is it?
It's so basically in like 2008, these two guys, they made a dumb web series where they're trying to get this is funny, but they're trying to get a show at this like hot club in Toronto. It's called the Rivoli. And basically every episode is them coming up with a new dumb plan to trick them into letting them play a show. Like, oh, if we do this and then this, they'll let us play at the Rivoli, rather than just calling the Rivoli and asking to book a show. So basically it's like a live action Phineas and Ferb. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but It's like every day of summer they come up with a crazy idea and do it. And that's basically what the show is, but it's these two idiots in Toronto, and they're just like trying to trick this company, and just they go to the most extreme places doing it. And so they did this web series for like 10 episodes in 2007, 2008. And then in the mid 2010s, they did a Canadian TV show of it for 2 seasons, and there's 8 episodes per season. And we're in the middle of season 2 right now. And then they did a movie of it, and it played like Sundance and TIFF and South by back last year. And then Neon just put it out in like February or something like that. But I don't want to say much more than I have, because it's such a surprising, inventive movie. It's unlike anything I've ever seen before, and I cannot recommend it enough. It's just so good. But it's this dumb Matt Johnson's the director's name, and the main guy in the show. Yeah, he's like my spirit animal, and I didn't even know it.
I have seen Blackberry, and that was very good.
Yeah, I'd seen it before too, but rewatching it, having understood it, because you know in Blackberry, like the goofy guy with the headband?
Yeah.
That's him. That's the director. That's the guy in Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie. All right. And yeah, he's just like, he's so uniquely himself, and it's really cool and inspiring to see that he's just like doing what he loves very clearly and succeeding to a crazy level. But yeah, I've kind of been avoiding all horror stuff because I've just been like sucked into this guy's like universe, and still working my way through it. So right, yeah, I don't know. You know, Weapons was good. I saw that last year. I can't even think right now what I've watched. It's been a weird time. Anytime a movie comes out, you're just like, you know, you're inundated with press things and just like review stuff, and it's just a long cycle. And when I'm making movies, I try not to watch that much, because it can kind of, well, you know, when you're working on something that's similar to something else or whatever, it can be a good, you know, it can be kind of deflating. When you watch like a Hollywood movie that's got the money that you don't have, and you're just like scrimping, and you're doing all these things to make something work, and you just see something that's like, you know, Sinners came out, and it's a huge VFX showpiece. I haven't watched it yet, but I want to.
Oh, you haven't seen Sinners?
I haven't, dude, I miss a lot, but you know, it can be deflating when you're in the creativity mode, because you're just like, man, they have just like A-list everything's top of the line. They're just doing it in a way that I wish I could, and I'm just like, you know, my budget for Bodycam was like maybe their craft services budget on that movie, you know, and it's like I'm doing everything for that, and it can be hard. So I when I'm like in the shit of post-production, I tried to just sort of limit what I watch. So I had been in post from 2022 all the way until 2025. So I'd been missing a lot of stuff. And then in October, I'll probably do a catch up again. Now baseball season's starting and I'll be coaching that soon. And it's...
Oh, nice.
It's a whole thing. So yeah, I don't know. I've been slacking on my horror movie intake for sure.
Well, I will tell you, Sinners was my favorite movie of like any movie last year. And
nice.
I saw it twice at the movies. My wife does not see movies a second time. Mm-hmm. It is just plain and simple a thing she does not do. And after we saw it, a few days later, I was like, I think I'm going to go back and see it again in IMAX. Because I go to the movies without her all the time. Because she doesn't like horror. But she was like, you're going to IMAX? I was like, yeah. She's like, I'll go with you. And so we saw it 2 weeks in a row, like once in regular and then once in IMAX. And she was pumped about it the whole time. And so, it's fantastic. And it's got a really, really, really wonderful score. So I can't recommend that one enough.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check it out. It's just sort of been there. And it's also tough when there's like big movies like that are coming out and you're just like, which one do I watch? And there's so many gigantic films coming out that you're just, it's hard to see them all. So, I'll definitely make some time. I mean, I buy them constantly and I have just this backlog of movies I need to watch. So yeah, I'll catch up.
That's the thing about buying movies, right? Is you always have a new one, and sometimes that's the like ongoing joke with physical media is like, do you like the movies or do you like owning the disc, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a mix of both.
Yeah. Okay, my next question I had here was actually about in our last episode. I recommended a movie, and I was gonna see if you watched it yet, and I'm 100% sure you haven't. But we talked about the movie Oddity. Did you ever end up catching that one? It's a Shudder.
No, yeah, but that's the one that did. Is it Hokum? Hokum's coming out by the same director?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, no, I didn't see it. I've heard cool things of that one too.
Oddity is really good. We talked about it because I was saying that has a really good jump scare in it.
Yeah, okay.
So that's a cool one to catch for that. But yeah, the reason I was going to bring it up here is because Hokum is one of the movies I'm most looking forward to watching soon, which is about a witch haunting an inn in Ireland. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering because we had that kind of ties back to an idea you had talked about or not really an idea, a script you had talked about that you were developing for the like sort of folk horror creature feature witch movie. So I was going to see if that idea come about at all. Have you been developing that? Is there a plan to develop that into a movie now?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a script we wrote in 2024, I think, and it's just a matter of money. It's just one of those things. Like, we've got a few scripts out there right now that are looking for money, and there's like I've done different movies. Like Night of the Reaper was bigger than Bodycam by a pretty significant amount. And doing a movie like Bodycam, I can just raise the money myself and get the money and just do the movie. Like, that's fine. But when you have to get like $1 million plus, it gets a lot more complicated and things take a lot more time. So we're kind of in this weird bubble right now where we have these 3 scripts and all of them I love. And I'm just like, I don't know which one's going to pop first, if any of them will pop first. It's such an unpredictable thing. But I'm itching to write something smaller just to have that in my back pocket. Cause, I think my one like superpower in this industry is just being able to take an idea and execute it for a very little amount of money, like Superhost, Stillborn, Z, Bodycam. They were all very low budget films. And, I'm kind of in a position where if I have this script that I know I can do for that level, I could just pull the trigger and get the financing like immediately because, I've got a history of return on investment. So yeah, I'm kind of in this weird, middle ground right now in between movies. And, I am expecting to shoot something this year, but I just don't know what it's going to be. If it's the witch one, that'd be sweet. I think it's a really fun script. But yeah, I don't know yet. We'll see soon. Hopefully, I'm hoping. That
I hope it's the rich one or the witch one because you had compared it to Saving Private Ryan, but with townspeople versus like this witch creature instead of Allied soldiers versus Nazis. Mm-hmm. Which I mean that would be awesome to see. I love that idea.
Yeah, it's big. It's just. you just need to financially support it. I'm actually going to Ontario. There's a small town there called Dundas that I've been told matches the aesthetic that we're going for. So I'm going to go scout it because I'm going there for a wedding. But we're going to spend some time just going there to look at this place to see if it would even work. Because if you have a location for it, it's a little bit easier too, because that removes a giant unknown. But yeah, again, it's kind of out of my hands right now. Like, I don't own the rights to it. It was like hired job. And so it's everything's complicated with that stuff.
Yeah. I'm looking at this town in Ontario right now. Looks really beautiful.
Yeah.
There's a picture of the forest here. I mean, it would be awesome to shoot in like the fall, because we know how these places come together during that time of year. Get a cool vibe to it. Yeah. Well, I hope that comes together, because I love the idea, but I'm sure the other two ideas are solid too. So, last we spoke, you talked about getting the American Werewolf in London on 4K, and you're looking at your It Follows 4K. Have you gotten any recent releases lately that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah. So one thing that sucks about Canada is they force French writing on all the cases. Like if you look up The Abyss on the 4K release, it's like The Abyss, and then right underneath in the same size, it's like L'Abyss. And it's just like, I don't want that in my collection. So what I've been doing is I order Blu-rays when they go on sale to my friend Clayton Moore, who is like my cinematographer. He lives in Vegas, and I can have stuff shipped to him. And so he's got a big stack of movies that I'm just waiting to get. But most of them are classics, because I spent so much time buying DVDs and Blu-rays and so much money. And then, it keeps getting outdated. But now I'm like, okay, 4K, I don't think we're going to get an 8K physical. It's just, movies weren't made for that. 4K kind of seems like the end of the line for physical, which is fine. And it's amazing. So I've been kind of collecting my favorites there, and he's got a big bunch of them sitting at his house right now that I need to pick up from him. But it's like, actually, I've got a photo right here. So let me see. He's got The Ring, which is a steelbook. He's got Christmas Vacation, Titanic, The Social Network steelbook, The Breakfast Club, Criterion Collection, Side by Side, which is like a documentary Keanu Reeves did, Pulp Fiction, Rosemary's Baby, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, there's an Alfred Hitchcock collection, The Prestige, and then Scream 1, 2, and 3 in a box set, and then Inception and Weird Science. So it's a very varied group of movies that are coming my way, but I'm excited to get those for sure.
I'm a huge fan of The Prestige. I love that movie so much.
So good. Yeah, it's great.
You mentioned Scream. I got the Scream 1 steelbook right here.
That's sick, yeah.
And I just got I just ordered Scream 4 Lionsgate Limited. Put that up for steelbook, so I got one of those on the way too. And,
I just saw that. Yeah, I saw an ad for it or something on Instagram. Yeah, it looks sweet.
Yeah. One really interesting that they did is they've actually released they've put up pre-orders for a Scream 4 VHS. Have you seen that?
No. That's cool.
There have been a handful of those lately, so they've done a few. I have a VHS. Have you ever seen the movie The Void?
I haven't seen it, but I know of it. Like Blitz Berlin scored it, so it's, they've done some of my movies. But yeah, I've heard it's cool. Man. Yeah, I got a Night of the Reaper VHS. Let me see. I'll show you. Yeah, this girl in LA, she does like VHS.
Oh yeah.
So I have some of these that she gave. I'm still waiting on my physical release from IFC, Shudder, AMC, whatever.
I don't know if you know the movie Freaky Tales, but I have the 4K, but it's in a VHS case.
Oh, that's cool. That's
so rad. It's like you open it up and there's like these little stickers, and then there's the 4K in there. So that's pretty cool.
That's fun. I do like what Physical's doing now, where they're getting very creative with the packaging and everything, and just to make it cool on the shelf. And it's, like a movie like It Follows. Like I love that film, but I saw that I think it's like a European release. It's not even region A, but it just is such a beautiful package that I'm like, oh, I want that on my shelf, because it's it's cool, because I have such a huge digital movie collection on iTunes, but it's cool to have my favorites, and that's why I'm buying like all these old classic ones, because I want to have them physically for when AI kills us all and all I have is a player. But and iTunes stops working. But it's a cool time to get into physical, because they're doing so many creative things with it, and it's fun to be able to take advantage of that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of really cool stuff out there right now.
Mm-hmm.
All right, last question I have. So the last time we spoke, you were talking about all the different movie scores and music that you listen to while you're working, while you're editing, doing all those things. So I want to know, what are you listening to now?
A lot of Trent Reznor. It's funny, there's like back when I first started writing scripts, it was always The Social Network. And I've found myself going back to that a lot lately. And also weirdly is there's the score for Mank, which is very like oldies kind of sounding. It doesn't sound like this kind of, social networky, techno-y type of thing either. It just has this weird old thing, but for some reason it just gets me going for whatever reason. But yeah, I mean, it's still kind of the same type of stuff. It's just I think it's just like comfort music where it doesn't challenge me at all anymore. I've heard these songs a zillion times, so it's almost just like, I think when people go to the gym and they work out and they have these like, the music that they listen to and they're working out their muscles, it's similar with writing, where you just turn on music that you're comfortable with, so you can just kind of go into a zen without thinking about the music. It just becomes like a background. But yeah, a lot of Trent Reznor stuff still. It just, for some reason, something about it, it just gets me in a way that a lot of other stuff doesn't. I certainly appreciate a ton of other scores, but I mean, I guess the It Follows one by Disaster Piece, that's also one that'll make the rotation quite a bit too. It just is, again, just very powerful music. But no, I don't know. I mean, it's just whatever. Like I have my Spotify playlist and I'll just hit it and then spend the next few hours just like, in a tunnel vision, and the music just sort of, it almost becomes like an echo around it or whatever. So it's not, it's not really driving it as much as just sort of being like a passenger while I'm writing, and in a weird way. But it's been good. I'm still doing the same thing.
Yeah. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross they're frequently in my rotation too. I like Challengers is always a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Social Network is always fantastic. Did you ever end up checking out that Gone Girl's awesome. Did you ever end up checking out that Tron Ares soundtrack that they did?
Yeah, it's great. So good. Yeah, I've listened to that a few times. It's just, they're just so good, and it's varied. They do stuff that's just different depending on the movie, and I don't know. They're very, very talented. It's crazy how talented they are, and in a totally different way than like John Williams was. They're not creating like these, theme songs for like Harry Potter or Superman or something like that. They're just like total vibe pieces that just totally complement the movies, and I love that.
Yeah. I was watching the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles like animated movie that came out a few years ago, and as I'm watching it, I'm like, man, this has a really good score to it. Like, who is this? I'm like, oh, it's Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Like, well, I guess it makes sense that I like it. Yeah, that's really cool. Well, thank you for joining. I really appreciate you coming on again.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
So where can people find you if they want to learn more about you and your work?
Instagram's kind of the main thing. My handle is the Brandon Christensen, and you can kind of follow all my exploits there, and I try and keep that updated as much as I can. Hopefully I have something to announce soon and I can start working on something, because I've got the itch to get back out there and do it again, because I was in post from 2022 to 2025, and now I'm out of post, and I'm just trying to get back there. So hopefully something comes soon.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to hearing more about it, and we'll have to have you on when whatever direction you end up going in is solidified.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be there.
Cool. All right. Thank you for catching another episode of the Bark Night Podcast. Please follow, subscribe, and leave a rating to help keep the reels turning. And visit barknightmedia.com to find the latest episodes, blog articles, and to sign up for our newsletter. Until next time, keep celebrating great stories on and off the screen.